Garage Sale Mystery Murder by Text is not my favourite garage sale mystery film. I didn't find that I was that bothered about what actually happened. But that doesn't necessarily mean I didn't enjoy it. I just don't think the mystery was as interesting as some of the others. This was released in 2017. It's directed by Neill Fearnley, written by Walter Klenhard and Suzi Weinert, and of course stars Loughlin as Jennifer. And I'll deal with the subplots. First of all, we have one where Hannah is trying to stop this building from being demolished to make way for condos. Unfortunately, her father is part of the team trying to turn it into condos. It's a little bit awkward. It's not that interesting, but I didn't mind the direction that part of the story took. The other part involves Dani's sister, Beth, who comes to visit, and there's a small mystery about why she's actually come to visit and why she's there. As a character, I thought she was quite interesting. I didn't mind her at all. Again, that part of the narrative, it was absolutely fine. It's definitely padding, but it was okay. The main narrative, the actual death, I thought was interesting, but I feel like it was a little bit too easy. Now, that's not to say that I worked out who was responsible for it, because I didn't, but at the same time, I wasn't trying very hard. Because, as I said, I just wasn't emotionally invested in this one the way I have been in others. But the reason I say it's too easy is that it didn't seem like there was that much that didn't make sense. For example, and I'll get it with it in a moment, but for example, in some of the other previous films, it's clear that it was probably a murder, but how could they have possibly done it? Whereas with this one, I think there were quite a few ways that this could have been executed. It didn't seem too far-fetched. So I think that's maybe why I wasn't that invested in it, because I think there are many possible ways that this could have happened. Basically, this is about a bass player who texts the band that she's performing with for this country singer who comes back to this town, and she texts saying, "I can't do this anymore. Goodbye." And needless to say, in a massive coincidence, Jennifer is in that room at the time, and some of some of her colleagues rush to her house and find that she's dead by hanging. And Jennifer doesn't believe that it's suicide. She believes, of course, that it's murder. And straight away, I could kind of come up with several scenarios that could have led to this, or ways that somebody could have done this. So it wasn't really a difficult mystery to solve as such. As I said, I didn't necessarily work out who did it, but if you'd said to me, oh, they did it this way, they did it that way, I would have said, yeah, I can see that. That seems pretty easy and convenient, and I can understand how all of these bits of the pieces of the puzzle would fit together. And I prefer the ones where things do seem impossible, or they seem really tricky. I don't want to go into too much detail by giving examples from previous films in case you haven't seen them. But, for example, a body being in a certain place, how could it have got there? Well, it was pretty easy to see how the body could have got there in this case. And it just wasn't that tricky. It wasn't that mysterious. I had too many possible scenarios that I just wasn't bothered which the right one was. I prefer it when I have no scenarios and I need the film to tell me what's going on. So it wasn't the most interesting, but it made sense. I can't say that there was anything about the narrative that didn't work, because that's definitely not the case. Everything developed well enough, and while it is a very easy story, I don't think they gave away too much too soon. As I said, I had a lot of different possibilities for what could have happened, and that meant that one of those was probably right, and it was just a case of seeing which one it was. I prefer it when I'm clueless, because they're more fun, they're more mysterious. This one just was a little bit too straightforward for my liking. But as I said, I can't necessarily fault the narrative, because it doesn't confirm anything too soon, and everything flows well enough, and everything, the dots all connect together when they need to. So I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. Murder by Text is definitely not my favourite, but I guess I still enjoyed watching it.